You are now listening to Unrelenting Humans podcast.
The century ride, 100 miles on the bike. That
Mhm.
was that right there, that experience. That is the mindset that I want to live in, like for the rest of 2020, and just for a while, I want to live in that mindset. So that mindset is this: I believe in challenging yourself and having challenging goals in every arena. So in terms of fitness, I've seen the most success weight loss and nutrition and fitness when I set a goal and my training is set around that goal. So 1 year the goal was I want to learn how to swim because I was terrified of swimming and I hate fear. So whatever I'm afraid of, I'm gonna set that goal to conquer that. And then I learned how to swim. I'm no longer afraid of it, so I'm good. So cycling.
Mhm.
I got a road bike. I wasn't using it, so I was like, you know what? I want to ride 100 miles. Right. That's not a lot really for someone who rides often, but for me, the longest I've ever been was 60 miles.
Mhm.
And I was like, hey, it's time for another goal. What would be a challenging goal? What can you do? A lot of things are shut down. Gyms are at 20% capacity. I was like, let's do 100-mile bike ride. And I put it out there on Facebook to see which one of my fit friends would jump on it. And I had a small handful of associates and friends, and they jumped on it. And then I set it up. And I'm gonna tell you that it was pretty weird or surreal because I organized it, but
Uh-huh.
I was the weakest rider.
Hey,
You're
hey,
right.
you're
So
the leader, so
yeah, and so but for me, that was a lesson. There's so many lessons. That was a lesson within itself. You don't have to be the strongest to lead. Sometimes it's just enough to get the right people together. And fortunate for me, I had the right people in this group. A lot of behavior is driven out of necessity. You're going to go to work somewhere because you have to, or you're going to own a business. You're going to make money because you have to, right? But in
right.
terms of your food choices and your relationship choices, right? So the things that you value, your value system is what's going to drive that. And if your value system says that if you truly believe at your core that you ain't shit, that you ain't worth nothing, then you will consume nothing. You will consume food that doesn't have nutrients, and you'll consume food that is slowly killing you because you ultimately don't believe that you belong. So you'll consume things that should not be in your body, and you know
That's right.
this, but you believe ultimately that you're not worth it. So in a
That's right.
nutshell, that's what it kind of drives down to some of those traumas.
Right. It's like a slow suicide.
Yeah, it is a death by a thousand cuts, and it can happen in multiple ways. Though it
Yeah.
is for some people it is the opposite. They don't feel valuable, so they don't consume. They don't eat. Right? They're not worthy of being here in their mind. They don't bring value. They don't belong, so they don't eat. So they're trying to wither away. You know. Um,
Yeah.
you know, or it may lead to addiction. You know.
Yes, that too.
Yeah. So
um,
a lot of different ways it could go, but I dealt with
ultimately, it's from not valuing yourself.
self value, self worth.
Mhm.
There's a couple call them core themes. A lack of self value tends to be very prominent. At me being a black man in the African American community, in my humble opinion, because society at a very early age will tell you where you are and what you're worth in society. Um, a lack of value, a lack of self worth is communicated early on, right? So
Right.
that tends to be a running theme that I see, right? So, um, you know, the police will um, use less discretion in terms of taking your life because they don't see your life of value, right? The violence that we'll see in our community, gang violence or domestic violence, um, that tends to happen where you don't see value in the other person, right?
Mhm.
So it's like you don't have value, so I'll take something from you because you're not worth it. So that is the self-value, self-worth, self-love is what I see most in our community. However, there's other things too. There's sometimes it's just trauma, right? Some early trauma or some trauma in life, and as a way to get through that trauma, you medicate through food. Food can be a lot of different things. It can be medication, it can be entertainment, it can be foreplay, you know, it can be everything. So, but the self-value is what I run into. Sometimes it's trauma, sometimes it's fear. It's just fear of success, fear of being better.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a couple of things. There's no one magic bullet.
Really? No, definitely. And so what was it that made you, like, what was the moment that you decided to change your life, that this was no longer for you, that you had to change? What was like the last straw?
There were a couple. There were two that really struck out. Was I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I went for a run, and I was really heavy at the time, easily 350, 360, and when you have that type of weight, you're moving around, and you haven't been athletic. And don't get it wrong, you got some people who are quote unquote morbidly obese, but they're still athletes, they're still athletic. But at this point, I wasn't. I was very stationary. But I decided I'm gonna get it together, and I went running, and it was late at night, and I was in the hood, because I lived in the hood at the time. And it was about 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I went running, and I got half a block, and I tripped and fell. And I fell hard, and I fell, and it was hard to get up, and that was the biggest reality shock. You want to talk about a metaphor for life, for being reborn again. It was dark, I was on the ground, and it was hard to get up, and I didn't want to get up. A part of me didn't want to get up. A part of me was embarrassed. A part of me just wanted to stay down there and cry. Like, I literally wanted to cry. But there was a decision that had to be made at that point. It was like, you could stay here on the ground in the ghetto and cry, or you can get your ass up, take a step, and keep it moving. And I swear, it was just a decision. And I just decided that I would roll over and get up and just walk. And I got up and kind of, brushed off some alligator tears, and I took a step forward. And,
wow.
I kind of choke up, like even now, I choke up, even though this was about 8 or 9 years ago, I choke up now, because that first step is a bitch.
Yeah.
The first step, rolling off the ground. And a part of it was necessity too, because I was like, man, you in the hood, you lay here, someone's gonna come turn your pockets out and try to take your wallet.
That is crazy, because I look at you now and I cannot imagine that, like, not just the body composition, just that mentality of wanting to stay on the ground. Like, I don't see that. That is not the coach I know. To hear the full episode, go to Unrelenting Humans on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments or hit me up on IG at unrelenting_humans. Thank you for listening.